Welcome back to the Velvet Room. I'm your host today, and today we are going to talk about censorship as the main topic with a small side topic. So, let's get on with it. So, first, Stellar Blade. So, Stellar Blade came out. It is a game that is of Korean origin, and oddly enough, I learned that it actually had to do with a Korean RP. Like, the person who mainly was behind the game wasn't the person behind this other game. What was it, like Magnum Courtois or something like that? It was on the first one was on the PS2 and the sequel was on the 360. But that was a Korean RPG. I think he was behind the artwork direction of those games, if I remember correctly. But I found that an interesting little footnote about the creator of Stellar Blade. But Stellar Blade came with praise from Yoko Taro in that, and that piqued my interest because if you know me, I love Yoko Taro games. I love their creativity and their bizarreness all at the same time. And, well, that to me was just a go buy it. If the physical edition got a stamp of approval, I was going to get it. And it did. One of our testers that does it plays has gave it a very good rating of approval, so I actually now own a copy of Stellar Blade. But that ain't the main topic, obviously. The main topic is all the controversy that came from it. So, now, this is on other people's accounts. I have not played the game, and I don't have, like, personal comparison experience between the disc version and the day one patch and any patches that have came out since then, just to be clear. So I do not have 100% factual experience in any of this, but this is still a very important thing in my opinion. So I'm seeing a lot of people making comments like who the fuck should care about this stuff, blah blah, or Kumors, or perverts, or degenerates, and blah blah, and all that kind of hogwash about the argument of censorship. Because obviously there are people who agree that the game should not be censored anyway. Now the game was advertised to not be censored. Now it is subjective opinion on whether they were referring to the day one patch or not. Because basically, for those who don't know, Japan has a very heavy censorship on... Ooh. That was ooh. Yeah, if that's in the recording, that was a bit of a lag spike, so... Anyway. Japan has heavy censorship when it comes to gore. Decapitations and heavy levels of blood are not okayed in Japan, especially decapitations. If you know Resident Evil builds and that very often, you'll know that America very often has like Resident Evil, No More Heroes, I believe, are some of the more common games Westerners understand and know about how the games were affected in Japan. They were heavily censored to that. So, Stellar Blade, supposedly, from what I understand, is not affected under this in Japan. Which led to one of the EA high-ups in Japan to actually call out that, because supposedly Dead Space did not get that fair treatment. So, point to waifus. But, yeah, I obviously don't agree with that censorship either. I think censorship is bad. I think things need to be leveled at ages, like we always have established. You know, if it's M, mature audience, no children. If it's AU, you know, adults, not young children. If it's E for everyone, then partake everyone. Like, I don't understand why an always established system that we have is not like relied on. Like, we live in this weird age where Nintendo isn't really doing a whole lot with stupid Windows ding alerts. we're living in this weird age where, like, fucking Nintendo is the only one not really fucking forcing anyone to do anything. But they are doing stuff to their own stuff. But they're not forcing anyone to do anything else, which, I mean, that's a little better. A little bit, at least they're not holding a gun to anyone else. But of course, the question with Stellar Blade is Sony holding up a gun to their head over this stuff? Because they advertised to be not censored in any way, and nobody really sure 100% whether they will fall into the gore, everything, like, because they made a statement about the outfits, because the whole thing happening in the West side of things is that several outfits were changed. Now, I don't think that's the end of the world, but it's still censorship. It is still censorship. But I don't think it's the end of the world, but I don't like it. But I could see a similar point, because, like, there's one outfit, like, looking at the two outfits, even though the other outfit has more cleavage reveal, so obviously, you know, the horn dogs are probably like that, you know. To be fair, its aesthetical design looks kinda compared to the day one patch. Like, it kind of reminds me of, like, you know, a common thing in VR chat, you know, there's a lot of anime characters in VR chat, you know. And a lot of times, you'll see very skimpy, like, like underwear toggles at times on some of them. And, like, a lot of times, where it's clearly fucking underwear, there'll be swimsuits labeled on the toggles. And I kind of get that vibe with this. Like, it looked more like a swimsuit than, like, the outfit was supposed to be in the non-patched version. So, when the Cradle made a statement saying that this is the vision of the outfits in the day one patch, I kind of give a little credence to it, but we'll never truly know whether that's true or not, or whether Sony held a gun to their head. No one will likely ever know the truth of that at all, at any point, probably. We'll probably never know. And right now, you got Sony doing this thing with Helldivers 2, which I was going to lightly touch on about, where they're making you have to make a PSN account. It was advertised that you would, but it was disabled because they were having so many server problems when the game came out. But now they're going to be enforcing it. And people are freaking out and everything. Now, in regards to the Helldivers 2 situation, I wasn't really sure what the big deal was too much, other than security. That I can give fair credence to. Sony has been hacked a few times. But to be fair, who hasn't been hacked a few times? Pretty much everyone has. But the point is, I can at least understand that as a complaint. But the people who originally were saying, like, you know, my country doesn't have PSN, I'm kind of like, well, I mean, I have an EU and a Japanese account for claiming, you know, stuff from those countries and things. So I was like, why not just lie about it? Well, after talking about it some, I do got a more clear idea of why that is a bigger complaint. So, two things. So, the bigger thing, for sure, is the fact that PSN is actually legit banned in several countries. Meaning, the only way you could possibly get access to it is by using a VPN type system. Which means you gotta pay additional money. Which is, of course, no good. The second thing, while not the end of the world, again, does kind of go into the privacy argument and everything, several countries like Germany and the UK require you to put your fucking ID or face scan or shit like that to make an account on PSN. Now, of course, some people might not actually give a shit about that, and other people might be like, hey, I don't want to do that. Like, my Facebook account has that problem. I lost control of my Facebook account, and it wants my driver's license to reclaim it. And I told them, fuck you. Like, why do you need my driver's license? Like, my fucking bank and PayPal don't fucking hassle me about a fucking ID. Now, I mean, obviously those I would understand more is what I'm saying, but this is Facebook, fucking Facebook, a stupid media thing. Like, fuck. But yeah, so I could see, yeah, people not liking that. But obviously, when you're totally banned from the service, from even going there, that's obviously an even bigger problem in being able to do that. So that, of course, you know, led to a whole bunch of problems of people like being like, well, how am I supposed to continue playing then when I can't even access the website and stuff? So Sony, instead of making a system for these people, have now rolled out banning Helldivers 2 on PC being sold to those countries, instead of working some kind of side system or something to allow these people to continue playing their game, or to somehow circumvent the system because the service is banned in their country. No. Instead, fuck you. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. That is, you know, of course, Sony's and a lot of other people in the Helldiver situation all blaming Sony, even though several people in the Helldivers, like, community managers are actually supporting this, which leads to the idea of whether it is both just Sony or the insanity of the devs. Because, like, one of the people claimed that the point of the system is to better ban people or security and safety. So there's a lot of confusion at who to really blame. I wouldn't be shocked if Sony was one of the leading people in it. It wouldn't shock me. But I wouldn't give the devs a whole free pass considering how the community manager people are acting about all this. Now again, similar to Stellar Blade, we don't know whether they'll have a gun held to their head on this. They could be having not a lot of choice in the matter. And that's why I feel like there's a lot of, like, one situation people are just outright blaming Sony, and the other one are like, no. Like, there's a 50-50 with the Stellar Blade thing. Look, like I said, we'll never know the truth of either situation, how involved Sony is, or at all with the decisions. It wouldn't surprise me. Sony has, when they turned their back on their Japanese fan base in their home country, I remember, so you don't have to. A lot of visual novels and other Japanese games were widely affected by Sony's sudden turn of censorship during the mid-PS4 era. There were several games that were close to being done that Japanese developers were finishing and getting ready to be produced and shit. All of a sudden, slammed, needing to do these censorships, and led to the whole meme with the shining light over bathing suits and shit. Sony is a fucking hypocrite in a lot of this shit. The Last of Us 2, I've said before, and I'll say it again, has a fucking full frontal sex scene where somebody fucking doggy styles a character. But anime tits in bathing suits are too much. It's hypocritical. Okay? It's stupid and it's hypocritical. This shit really needs to stop because it's stupid. It's stupid because the shit is weighted how it needs to be weighted. And if something on that front comes up, you know, you go to the waiting board and get that straightened out. I don't think that happens too often ever since the hot coffee mod with San Andreas. So I think probably the most recent weird thing in that regard was with Neptune. There was a weird thing with one of the newer Neptunes. Something about the language wasn't included in the waiting as it usually is. And instead of addressing that, they made a patch that removed a bunch of shit, which that was weird. Thank goodness the physical build obviously doesn't have that in it. But, yeah, and they continued with later versions to other systems with that patch. So, yeah, that was a very weird thing of censorship because you somehow fucked up that. Hopefully that doesn't become a problem continuing in the future. But, yeah, we got a waiting board. Why does this shit need to be done? I mean, at this point, we shouldn't even really be fucking freaking out. Like, I've always thought, like, the whole situation with, like, AO games was even weird. Like, in Japan, AO games like, there was a point in time where you could find actually very sexual, suggestive stuff, not like this, sexy outfit type thing, but I mean, like, little, like, almost borderline porn on really old Japanese things. And then at some point, that became a PC-only market in Japan. Now, America is pretty much a similar thing. All the consoles in that, you can't have adult-only content on. Well, actually, Europe's a little weird. We'll get into that. But PC, again, well, that. Like, I don't really get that, to be honest, because you know what? Like, the argument is that, oh, it's on a thing you can buy, and then children can get it. Oh, well, then I guess they can't have DVD or Blu-ray players then, or VHS, because, porn. Oh my, think of the children. Look, like, the logic of it is stupid to me. You can get that shit for all those things. Don't see anyone fucking screwing, like, because like, I've heard this argument, like, oh, if they allow AOE stuff on, like, video game consoles, then the Walmart and stuff won't carry them anymore. And like, well, they don't seem to have a problem carrying Blu-ray and DVD players, even though they're fucking straight out fucking hardcore porn you can buy for those. You see what I mean? Anyway, point is, we have a waiting board. The waiting board's job is to tell you the group and give you an informed idea of the suggested people and, like, the kind of content in it. So, like, you'll be like, oh, no, I don't want cursing, even though, like, say, this is a mature way game. I don't want Jimmy having this game anyway, because it says it has bad language in it. So I don't want Jimmy to have it. I won't get it for Jimmy. Like, it informs you and gives you an idea of the age rating. Now, of course, since, these days we have so many fucking babies in the form of adult bodies, it's kind of hard to really actually probably properly do that, because a lot of people don't seem to grasp the concept of even being an adult anymore nowadays, which continues to be a confounding problem of society at this point in time. Oh, deal. But back on the Stellar Blade thing, I don't agree with censorship. If Sony did basically force them to do something to the outfits, then of course I don't agree with it. If it really is the vision of the team that these were to be the finalized outfits, I don't think it's as big a problem. But the problem, of course, like I said, is, can we trust? Because Sony has shown countless times ever since they turned their back on Japanese culture, including their own homeland, going to California, that they can't be trusted with anything. They've continued to ruin more and more trust from their Japanese fan base that has literally stuck with them since the beginning of their fucking era. They continue to just dig that dagger deep into people's backs, and it's just fucked up. It is. And, like, I've said that even on the Desert's Play forums, that, to be fair to the people who don't trust Sony, they have every right to not trust Sony, because Sony themselves have shown that they will fuck over the developer in all this censorship. They will. And they're hypocritical because of shit like The Last of Us 2. They're not even, and they're not fair about it. If you're going to fucking censor swimsuits, fucking female people in swimsuits, why the fuck did The Last of Us 2 have full frontal sex doggy style sex in it with no censorship? I think it's enough said. And I'm sure, if you're familiar with this subject, you've probably seen that argument and heard that argument a lot of times. It will continue to haunt Sony forever. They clearly have a bias on who they will and won't allow break their own stupid rules they made. They can't even be consistent, and that's the shit people are going to continue pointing out and throwing out there. Censorship is bad, and the people who are taking light of it are a problem. Now, the seriousness. Now, I get the argument is like, oh, it's outfits, hoo, boo-hoo. Look, I think the wisest words in this topic is that you may not care about it, and that's fair. If you don't want to care about it, that's fine. But mocking people who do or protecting something even for you. Let me put it this way. So, let's say somebody wanted to make an LGBT calendar, and maybe somebody higher up just thought maybe that's too risque to do. Maybe they're like, no, I don't think it's a good idea. I think we'll get too much pushback in that. And they're like, well, I want to do that. Well, no, I don't think we should. And that would be censorship. And, you know, I would call equal bullshit if someone did that. If that became public knowledge and someone did that, I would call bullshit on it. I even called bullshit. You can go all the way back to when those Boulder Gate remake things on the PC thing happened. Those enhanced remakes, whatever the fuck you want to call them. When they inserted all those stupid things about gamers in them. And then they censored those out. Those were things the developers wanted in there. And even though I disagreed with that stuff being there and mocking your audience being stupid, I actually said I didn't agree with them being removed. The dev team wanted those in there. And I support their right to have it in there. It's stupid in a marketplace, but it's what they wanted. And I support their freedom to express that, even though it makes no sense in the setting or anything. You can go back and find whatever videos I've talked about that in. The dev teams should be free to make what they want. And they should not have to feel like they have a gun pressed up their head because they want to do something mature or controversial. It's stupid. It's very stupid. Then, of course, you got the people who want to say things like, oh, that's not right, or that you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't have a character like that, or you shouldn't have a character who does that, or this or that. Look, I find it weird that, like, we'll nitpick little things about characters. Like, you'll be like, let's say, just for a quick example, there's a character who's a womanizing pervert. Let's say something that's simple with that. Then people are like, well, they should be a womanizing pervert. That's wrong. Oh, and what about the villain who's killing everyone? It's a fictional story. Any characters that do anything, good or bad, is fiction in the context of the story. It is not real, nor does it mean you should do any of the things the people do in them. Does that make sense? Because I find it weird when people do that. Like they're just like, oh, no, you shouldn't have that character be like that, or do that, or look like that, or be this or that, or this or that, or this kind of joke or humor or stuff. Now, I bring this up because of, like I said, with Nintendo hasn't really been censoring anyone, but they have been censoring themselves with certain things. And recently, like the Paper Mario 1000 Year Door. The thing is, there are 3 Goombas that will make catcalling like comments towards the female Goomba that joins you in the game. And this is no longer in the new version on the Switch. Is it the end of the world? Not really, but you could argue it does change the context of the Goombas. Because, I mean, they're bad guys. They're bad people. They catcalled. Anyway, but point is, you change the aspect of the character. Now, like, are they good characters? I don't think they're meant to be good characters. So why is it bother you if they catcall a character? Okay, like, I don't see anyone going to, like, Castlevania and be like, Dracula, why are you killing and murdering and maiming and raping and stealing and kidnapping and sacrificing and, like, of all the shit he's done in all the Castlevania games. He's a bad guy. Bad guys do bad things. Now, you might be like, well, what if they were good guys? Like you were using the example of, like, a perverted character. You know, there's been good characters who are perverted womanizers. And that's true. Look, humans or flawed. None of us are perfect. We all have a closet full of creepy-ass skeletons that we probably don't want anyone to actually know about ourselves when it comes to either fetishes, sins we've done, mistakes we've regretted. I'm sure everyone has something. Guaranteed. No one's fucking perfect in this world. And that's what makes character development interesting in a story. Having flaws and overcoming them. There are times where characters like this overcome these flaws and gain a greater respect for the other sex at times. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just for comedy or just fucking floating ha-has. It's like not at the end of the fucking world. These are characters. Some are good, some are bad, some are flawed. None are meant to be ever perfect. My point is still, censorship is bad. Because, let's take the Nintendo example and just wipe that away. Let's change, for example, so one of the party members in Thousand Years Door is a shadow ghost creature. Now she has a trans story, basically. But that was actually basically moved in the American version. Now, I'm going to likely assume it's been restored in the Switch version, because, I mean, that's just free brownie points in this day and age. But, the point is, did you not feel that was censorship on the original GameCube? A lot of people did, and a lot of people argued that it should be restored. And, like I said, I imagine it has, but I don't really know firsthand on that, and just probably very likely. What you think matters or not is going to be subjective to everyone. But letting censorship happen is a step way of letting more happen and getting to where we keep ending up in the repeating of time. Book burning of ideas and censorship. It's not good. And you might argue why. Because knowledge is power, and learning history helps prevent it repeating. But yeah, here we are. Like, we live in an age where schools are restricting learning about, like, World War II, for example. And people wonder why nobody knows what a fucking actual Nazi is anymore. Not to mention the irony that's happening right now in that regard. But I don't want to get very political in that. But, yeah, like, I understand with Stellar Blade, at the end of the day, we are just talking about outfits that are exquisiting the female form. But, like I said, the idea is that if you allow it, you continue to allow a stepping system of more and more and more things that lead to more meaningful things. One day, they will take what you want. It might not be today, but it will be in the future. And they have done so in the past, and they would do so in the future if you allow them to. I want to make one political-related reference in comparison to this. Now, I debated about making this because, well, it's a real-world political thing, and I don't really want to bring politics too much in this, but I do think it is a lesson in this kind of thing. So, when the Queen died, Queen Elizabeth, this raised a bunch of protesters against, like, the royal family. Now, I don't know firsthand about protesting laws in that country, so I don't know what kind of rights they have in that regard. But I do know for a fact that they did use a law that said people actually encouraged. So, you know, if you know in that territory, they have been uprising things to stifle, quote-unquote, hate speech. Now, I don't agree with, like, death threats and shit and that. That stuff does need to actually be, like, even if it is a joke, but, like, you don't know the person that, like, you're not friends and making, you know, friend jokes at each other. You just randomly say, like, you need to die. That shit I do think they need, because you never know. Somebody could be a nut job and shit. That's a sad thing in our world. But, like, disagreement, like, the thing is, people bring disagreement, debating and stuff to the level of quote-unquote hate speech. But, and like, don't get me wrong, there is hate speech. But, like, people want to label, like, everything hate speech, is, like, the point I'm saying on that. So, they got upgraded laws on that. So, they upgraded those laws on that. And guess what happened when those protesters were protesting the royal family stuff? They used those hate speech laws against them. They used the censorship of those speech against them. They brought forth those laws, and they were twisted against them. And those people were arrested and charged for various things depending on the things. Now, some of those people did do bad things regardless of their laws, and other people didn't. But there were all cases of people that were just getting asked what they were doing. If they were protesting, away you went. And that is an example of how censorship can be turned against you. Against the things you like. The things you want to do. And that is the lesson I think people should bring with them in this kind of things. Sure, you might not care about booba revealing outfits. But you surely care about character development, I hope. But yet, then there's people who will criticize characters like the Goombas in 1,000 Year Doors, or those two guys in Persona 5 that kept fucking dragging Ryuji away. Look, not everyone is good, not everyone's bad. Like, and those neutral characters in between. They don't represent the views of the creator. Sometimes they could be for comedic value. Sometimes they could be for a life lesson. Other times it just could be no point at all. You don't know why that character is there. And unless the creators themselves say why, you can't say whether something is meant to be hatred, a joke, or just that character. And that, I think, pretty much brings close what I want to say here. Censorship is bad, and it will take what you love one day if you continue to support it. You should not support censorship. You should support letting a waiting board fucking, like, recommend, like the shit that goes to for kids, for adults. Like, I don't see why that process can't be used. We have it in all countries, and yet we want to censor shit. Like, Stellar Blade is clearly a game for mature people. And yet, like, people would just, I don't know. My brain hurts. It just hurts every time this kind of shit happens. But remember, censorship is bad. It will come to claim what you want one day if you support it. It will come and take it. Support having things be relegated to the age groups they're for. And if you, like, you want to play GTA, your kid, you're just going to have to wait to grow up. Okay? That's just how it is. It's not being censored from you. You just have to wait until you can. Anyway. Thank you for joining today. Until next time. Be safe out on the proving grounds. It's dangerous out there. And remember, don't get censored. Don't fade away. And always remember. The deep, deep inside your consciousness rests a person.